What is good, Ecamm fam? Welcome to the workshop. Guys, we are so excited about today's workshop. I have been super excited personally for this workshop because this is one of those workshops where I feel like you really go from this idea in your head to actual actions. Like, I know we probably have all been to those workshops where you go in and you hear a lot of really cool things and you're like, okay, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to learn some stuff. But how am I actually going to add this to my day-to-day workflow? Well, that's what today's workshop is all about. And we brought the perfect educator for this. First off, before we get too far into it, I want to introduce myself. My name is Brandon Washington. I am super excited to have officially joined the Ecamm team. And you guys are probably going to see me around on the YouTube channel as well as over on our different social platforms. And little spoiler alert, hint, hint, I have a workshop coming up soon, which we will talk about much later. But I am super excited to be a part of the Ecamm team. I have been a longtime user of Ecamm myself and have been a member of the Ecamm fam. So I am really excited to be hanging out with you guys today. I see some amazing people in the chat already showing love from all over the world. So I love seeing that you guys are tuning in from literally everywhere. But I do notice right now, we've got 85 people rocking with us live right now and only 10 thumbs up. So do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up if you are excited about today's workshop. Now, for those of you guys who maybe registered and you got your email and that's why you guys are here, you already know that this is just day one of our workshop today. There's actually a second day, and day two is going to be taking place all on Zoom. So that way you can get your questions answered. It's a little bit more of a, personal hands-on approach to this topic. But if you haven't yet, and you don't even know how to get into that Zoom call, or you don't even know anything about it, you're hearing about it for the first time, because you just happen to stumble across this live stream here on YouTube, do me a huge favor, go into the description, click the first link in the description, and register for this workshop. So that way we can send you all the information you need to know about that Zoom call for tomorrow. So really, really excited to be hanging out with you guys. I see it already in the chat. I see some amazing people. I see some people I've seen before in the chat. I see people tuning in from all over the place. George, I see you. I see you, George. So good to see you today. Really excited to be hanging out with you guys. But more importantly, excited to be learning with you guys. Now, I want to give you guys a little bit of a preference for today's workshop, just sort of how we're running this thing. Because we want you guys to be able to get as much value out of this, in just a moment, I'm going to be bringing up our lead educator for today. Now, the way we're going to be running this workshop is very in tune with how you can actually take practical steps to go from ideation to completion when it comes to your training course or your training guide that you want to create. So to do this, we're going to have sections where we'll have Q&A sections. So that way we can actually ask our questions at one point, but then we can also allow Alec to actually be able to just teach us. So during those moments, the one thing you're going to probably think through is like, oh, I have a question, but I need to wait until we get to the Q&A section to actually ask those questions. Don't do that. Go ahead and throw your questions as you have them in the chat in real time, and then I will personally be going through those questions, finding them, so that way we can bring those to Alec at those exact moments. So feel free and ask those questions at any point. But without further ado, I'm really excited to bring up our educator for the day. You guys probably already know who he is. I actually just been watching his content even before I joined the Ecamm team because he just provides so much value to the Ecamm fam in general. And today, I am personally really excited because I know that sometimes trying to think through the process of creating an entire training course can be a little daunting. And so I'm really excited to find anybody's blueprint, anybody's outline, anybody's shortcuts who can help us get there faster. And I think we brought in the perfect guy. Chat, do me a huge favor, show some love, W's in the chat, thumbs up if you haven't already for Mr. Alec Johnson. What's up, brother? How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me here, Brendan. It's great to be here with you.
Dude, I am so excited about today's workshop. I want to ask you a quick question before I go into the chat and pull a couple questions. But for you, obviously you are what I would call an Ecamm power user. You're one of those people who are like, when I brought you in, when we brought you in to do this, I was like, oh, he's got it. Like he's gonna get the Ecamm side down perfectly. Like I'm not too worried about that. But what I wonder for you is before you start working on any type of creative project, what is sort of like the mindset you put yourself in? Is it the mindset of what's best for the consumer or what's going to be the easiest thing for me to execute? Like where do you put yourself mentally when it comes to needing to create something?
It's always about what's the transformation you're looking to deliver for someone, whether that's a single piece of content on YouTube or whether it's an entire course. It always comes down to that. What's the journey that somebody needs to go on? In terms of whether it's the complexity of doing it, that's never really a question for me with Ecamm because it just feels so intuitive that it just makes it so easy to do it in any case. So yeah, it all comes down to the transformation we're delivering at the end of the day.
Dude, I absolutely love that because I think you're 100% right. Like when you think about the transformation, it sort of answers, I guess, a lot of the questions you would have as far as like what do I need to do next? Because if you can kind of think about what is
Mhm.
the transformation, you can almost like work backwards and sort of answer all the questions for
Absolutely.
yourself.
Yeah, entirely that. That's section two in a nutshell, basically.
All right. Well, I don't want to spoil what we got coming up because I know you got a lot to teach us today. So I don't want to spoil anything. But one thing I do want to open up to our audience and open up to the chat. Do us a huge favor, chat. If you haven't already, let us know what industry are you making your course for. Alex and I would really love to know this up front. We know we got people tuning in from all over the world, but I'm sure we got people tuning in for all different industries. So if you haven't already in the chat, let us know what industry are you excited about creating your course for? Because we personally think that that's going to be, it sort of helps guide some of the things that we do in the future as well. So let us know that information. But Alec, it is time. I don't want to hold them back anymore. I'm ready to hop into the first section. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Let you run wild and just provide value for us. So, dude, again, thank you so much and I'm going to turn it over to you. You good?
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much. Excellent. Well, yeah, thanks so much everyone for being here. It's great to see so many familiar faces. It's one of the amazing things about the Ecamm community. We're all among friends for many years in some cases here. So great to see you all here. I've got a quick question though, which is how long have you actually been saying to yourself that maybe I should make a course, I could make a course? I know that it's a thing that a lot of people think about and don't actually put into action. But there's another question that maybe I could ask is maybe you have been asking yourself, could I do it and should I do it? Like, am I actually capable? Well, let me just tell you, you're in exactly the right place because in terms of could you do it, as I mentioned just there in the intro, Ecamm really does make this whole process so seamless. And it's the reason that I got into using Ecamm in the first place was a way to make my courses in one take with no edits. And it's just transformed my world, quite frankly. So absolutely, it is within anybody's technical capability. And then to the other question is, should you actually be making a course? And I'm guessing I'm somewhat preaching to the converted because you're here already, but you absolutely should make a course. Everybody has got some knowledge to share. We only have to think about where we were just a few steps ago to think that there is going to be someone else in that position, and we would be able to help them along that journey. And I've got to say that it has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life to be an educator and to share some of the things that I know. And it's the biggest reward is to have somebody comment that it's had an impact on their life and has helped them. So I strongly urge everybody to think about how they could maybe share their knowledge with the world. So as I say, I'm obviously preaching to the converted because you're here right now. So the question then is, if you've answered that first one of how long have you been thinking about it, 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, however long it has been, Why is it that you haven't actually done it yet? And this has been something that stuck with me for a long time before I actually finally pulled the trigger and did it. So why is it then that we do get stuck? So it's really a good place to start to think about, why is it then that people have these blocks in place that stop them from taking that first step? Well, the first one I want to just address is imposter syndrome, because I know that many people maybe think that there are other people that are maybe more experienced than them, maybe there's somebody else already doing what they're thinking of doing. But really, as I mentioned, we only have to think about our former self. And it's one of the best approaches, really, when it comes to making educational content, whether that's a full course or whether it is a YouTube video, is just to think about your former self and think about what would I have found useful at that point in my life to be able to take me on to the next step. And what are some of the mistakes that I've made that I could have, maybe avoided if I'd had the correct training, the correct instruction. And really, there will always be somebody who is at the point that you were at, and there'll also always be somebody who wants to hear it from you. There may well be countless other people who maybe have done it before and have you may think have got more experience, but everybody has got somebody that they resonate with, and so even if there is somebody else in your field already doing it, there is absolutely still a place for you to do it. And if ever you look around and see other people doing what you're thinking of doing, the only thing that you should take from that is that it proves that there is in fact a market for what it is you are looking to teach people about. The next thing then is the tech barrier. And as we'll see later, it's easy to look at people's setups and feel like you've got to have all the gear before you can make a start. Or maybe even you're not sure how you would even go about recording a course. Well, we'll be talking about that a little bit later, and I'll be showing you how you can do that sort of step by step, starting with the basics. But the other one then is the analysis paralysis, and maybe some of you can relate to this. And it goes both ways, really. Either you are thinking about your particular topic and you're feeling like there's a mountain to climb in terms of all of the things that you could potentially put into a course, and you're not sure where to start. Or maybe it is that you've got a very good idea of the roadmap that you want to build for a particular course, but it's just so overwhelming because it's just so vast. And that really is the one that I want to address first, because really we just need to think about how we can break things down into simple steps. And that's actually where we're going to start. So the course blueprint, anybody who's followed along with any of my other programs or courses, I've made dozens of courses at this point, and I've had tens of thousands of people go through my training. And so if you have been through one of those programs, you'll know I'm a big fan of 3-step processes and 5-step processes, and breaking things down into small chunks. And so it's no different here. The course blueprint is basically 3 things that you want to think about. And if you spend a little bit of time as we go through this, and then afterwards reflecting on it, it's going to give you a really good starting point for your course. The first thing then is to think about one person. We're not trying to make a course that is going to just appeal to everybody, because by definition, if you're making something that appeals to one person, to everybody rather, it actually means no one. The more specific we can get about who it is we are serving, the better we are going to be at actually serving that one person adequately and giving them what they need. And as I say, if you are struggling to think of who that one person is, think of your former self and make the course for them. The next thing then is to be very specific about their circumstances, the place where they are at the moment, what they're looking to get, and I'll take you through a process here to really get down to the nitty-gritty of this and where they are currently and where you want to get them to. And then also try to think about, the situations that they're in. So when we talk about the person, we're not talking about necessarily just demographics of, age or location, although that might well factor into it, but just getting to be a little bit more specific about the actual description of where they are. And all of this is basically coming down to being the specificity, if I can speak properly, that is going to help us basically design that transformation a little bit later. So in terms of defining your audience, what I mean by this is that let's say you wanted to make a course on email marketing. Let's say email marketing was your thing. Well, a vague audience might be business owners, for example. You want to make a course on email marketing for business owners. Obviously, it's going to be hard to appeal to everybody because that is just so broad. However, if you wanted to appeal to a specific niche there, you might say, well, maybe it's solopreneurs with a list that they've never used. And so the course is about how to start engaging from your initial list that you've got to start marketing your products. And that is one where the right person is going to be able to immediately see if you're talking in the language that is speaking to that person. They're going to be able to see that, yes, that is them. Another example, for example, a course on photography for photographers. Obviously, how ridiculous and vague is that, as opposed to a course on photography for people who are photographing their own products to sell online. So you get the idea here. We're just trying to get away from the vague and into the specific. So public speaking for people who want to speak better versus public speaking for people who have to present at work and were never taught how. So it's really just giving yourself that slightly tighter niche. And as I say, it means that all of the vocabulary that you're using when you're talking about your course is going to really resonate with those people. So that's the first step really of the blueprint, is just to get clear on who is that one person and just get into the mind of them and how they're showing up and what they need to get from the program. So the next thing then is, as well as one person, is one transformation. And this is because I mentioned there the analysis paralysis, and sometimes that can come from overwhelm. I think sometimes we want to try and do it all. We think that we've got to build the ultimate all-in-one masterclass that is going to take everybody from start to finish of whatever topic it is. And that actually can be harmful, because sometimes you might feel like you've got to make the complete course on a topic, whereas in actual fact, you could just break it down into one particular part. And the idea of making a course on an entire topic actually might be something that you feel like, well, maybe I know this part, but I don't know another part. Then, that can be something that can hold you back, really. So this is the myth of just trying to do everything at once. So you don't have to solve everything at once. You just have to be clear on what it is you're solving and solve that one thing clearly. And I always like to talk about this as the minimum viable transformation, because I talked in the opener there about how, what we're looking to do is provide this transformation. And what we want to think about is, well, if we are one of those folks who has been thinking about creating a course for, a number of years or more, then how can we actually break that down into something that's actually manageable for us? Because the course that you make doesn't have to ever be the only course you make, but it will be the first one potentially, and the second one can't come until you've made the first one, obviously. So why don't we make it a little bit easier on ourselves and think about where are we going to start? So what is the smallest meaningful result that you can deliver? So this isn't about thinking about how we can, do as little as possible, but rather, if you are somebody who maybe has been thinking about this and not putting things into action, how can we just make that small, meaningful step and that real transformation for someone on whatever scale, so that then that starts the ball rolling and we can move on to the next program. If you have got a broader transformation that you are helping people with, then we can think about, well, what is the sort of subset of that? So, for example, if we're talking about how to look better on video, for example, or how to use video in your business, there are a whole series of things that you could cover in that, but you might want to just focus on, one particular point of it, maybe camera framing or something like that, So you can think about the parts of the journey, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples of courses a little bit later, and you'll see how they can be, range from, 150 lessons with 13 modules, or it could just be a single module with 7 lessons. And as long as you are delivering on the transformation that you're promising, that is all that matters. And what you can also think about is, if this is potentially going to be the first of a number of courses, think about, well, what is the single outcome that you could create in your course that's basically going to lead on to further courses later, or further training later. So that is the minimum viable transformation. And when you are thinking about that, what we need to do is actually get further into the mind of the person who is going through this process. And I'll send out I'll have Ecamm send out a thing that has all of this in it. So if you are taking notes, then by all means go ahead. But I will send out a workbook that has all of this content in it as well, because it's useful to just go through these questions. And this section is going to be a little bit text heavy, just because it's really worth drilling down into these questions to get a better understanding of the transformation you're offering. So go through and answer these questions. First of all, before, what is missing or what do they lack? So you're understanding where the person is, what they're missing at the moment, and what are they lacking. What beliefs or self-talk limit them? How do they feel stuck, anxious, or unsure? How do they see themselves? And I'll give you some examples in a moment. What else has suffered as a result of this problem? So usually there is something that they're trying to solve, but there's a deeper meaning or there's a deeper knock-on effect to it. And then think about, after they've gone through your program, how are they going to feel after that? So what new result or asset do they gain? What thought patterns emerge? What emotional shift takes place? What new identity do they begin to step into? And then what else improves or when this is solved? So you're looking at that deeper emotional outcome. Now, just to give you an example of this, I created a course called The Confidence Switch, which is a free course that I've got, which is all about, guess what, camera confidence and how to overcome the fear of speaking on camera. So just to give you an idea of what those questions look like for that particular avatar taking that course. Before, maybe a fear of judgment, second guessing every word, whereas afterwards, more grounded mindset, and they press record with clarity and calm. Not confident enough on video, I sound awkward, I'll embarrass myself, is maybe the self-talk that they've got. Whereas afterwards, I don't need to be perfect, I just need to show up and serve one person. So I won't go through all of these, but you get the idea that we just answer these questions for the person that we're thinking of that is going to go through our course. Now, the reason why this is important is because once you've got this sort of transformation and the before and after, it really informs absolutely everything about the way that you talk about your course and the way that you design it, which we'll look at in the next section. But it also informs things like email marketing. It informs your landing page. It informs the promotional copy that you create for it, because you can really speak to what is their problem, what is the pain point, and how are you going to take them from one to the other, and what is the outcome that they're looking for. So you go through and answer these questions to give you the before and after, and then that moves us on to then the final step of the blueprint, which is one promise. When somebody comes to the landing page for your course, there has to be some promise there, obviously, of what they're going to get. And that is derived from those transformation questions. So the promise is going to be structured in a certain way. And once again, there is a series of questions. If you follow this process and ask these questions of yourself, then this is going to deliver the actual promise statement. So first of all, based on those before and after questions that I just put up, what can they do now that they could not do before? Now, that is basically the external result that you're promising them. There is something that they couldn't do, and now they can do it. So that's the external result. The next thing then is, a next question to ask is, what has been stopping them from taking this action so far? So this is, some of the blocks that we talked about in the last section with the before and after questions. And this is essentially the internal struggle that they're facing. There is something that is preventing them from doing it. A bit like, even as I've been talking in this section about, we've been planning to make a course for years and we haven't done it. So what is that internal struggle? What's holding people back? And that would be the same for your course, whatever topic that happens to be on. And then the next thing is then, how do they feel about themselves once it is done? So this is that bigger, knock-on effect, if you like, the ripple effect of what they're going to get after the course is finished, after they've done the course, and how are they going to feel about themselves afterwards. And that is the emotional outcome. Now, what you can do then is you can pull all of these things together into a nice little statement, which basically says, by the end of this course, you will be able to insert your external result without your internal struggle, so that you can get that emotional outcome. And just to give you that example then of the confidence switch course, you could say something like, by the end of this course, you will be able to speak to the camera with clarity and calm without second guessing every word, so that you can be seen for who you really are. And that's all come out of those before and after statements that we did, before and after questions, and then put together into this format. So that in a nutshell is the blueprint. And if you go through and ask yourself those questions, or rather answer those questions, that's going to give you your one person, your one transformation, and the one promise. And that is going to give you the foundation for your course, which we'll look at in the next section. So with that said, be great to just check in and see if anyone's got any questions at all.
Bro, already just like nonstop value. I am like sitting here and I'm like, this is so well put together. And it's so funny to watch you teach this topic while also taking us through the exact same teaching in real time. Like, I don't know if everybody here caught that meta, but
It's a bit
literally
meta.
everything he just taught, he also took us through at the exact same time at the beginning of that course blueprint. So first off, there's been some amazing comments in the chat already. Just people saying, thank you so much for this, like how valuable this was. And so like, Alec, I just want you to know up front, everybody here is greatly appreciated. I know a couple questions came in when you were talking a little bit about the workbook. So people are saying, like, when will we be able to get the workbook? Alec is going to send that to us, and then be sure to be registered. So if you haven't
You've got to
already,
be registered for
the
sure.
first link in the description is the register for this workshop. It's also going to give you the link to the Zoom call where we'll be able to go into more detail on some of these items tomorrow. But make sure you are registered so that way we can email that out to you as soon as possible. So a couple quick questions that did come in through the chat that I did want to get to. Some people are asking, what are you using for this whole setup? Now, I already know the answer, but some people are asking, are you using Keynote? Somebody else commented something that's holding them back is the complexity of OBS. Do you want to tell the people briefly what you're using?
Okay, well, obviously I'm using Ecamm, and the funny thing about the OBS thing, I always say I pulled my last hair out with OBS before I switched to Ecamm, so I feel your pain. But I'm using Keynote. Obviously, Brandon is handling all of the live production, and it's one of the amazing things of Ecamm is we can just bring people in from Zoom. So I'm just joining as a regular Zoom guest, but I'm using Ecamm on my side, and I will actually show this in the fourth section about how you can set up your Ecamm setup for presentations and so on. So it's basically Keynote with live video coming into Ecamm, but I'll do a demo of that in the fourth section.
Yeah, so don't go anywhere, guys. We have a lot more we're still going to be teaching. And like he said, in the fourth section that we're going to be going to here in just a little bit, he'll go into a little bit more detail about how he actually set all of this up. But Alec, you have been doing so well, and I don't want to slow down the momentum. Chat, again, if you guys have any other questions, Ecamm fam, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw those in the chat. Just be sure to put Q, : and then whatever your question is. So that way we can go ahead and pull that up. Also, we have our amazing moderators in the chat right now answering any questions. I got to say one thing before we move on, because I know this came up a couple times. Guys, what I love about Ecamm in this situation, Alec is in Thailand. I am in the US. And we were able to bring this to you guys live all around the world. So for some of you guys who are saying you may be seeing a little bit of a connection thing or anything along those lines, we're broadcasting literally from around the world to the world. So be sure to register, because along with everything else we've already told you, you guys will also get the replays, and we're going to be breaking these up. So for those of you guys who want to be able to find individual sections from this, we're also going to be able to cut those up and be able to deliver them to you. So that way you can get all the value from this entire section. So Alec, you are absolutely crushing it. I'm going to get out of your way. I'm going to continue to take notes because I'm learning a lot, and I want to be able to turn it over to you for the rest. You ready to go?
Cool. Ready
Awesome.
when you are. Cool stuff. So you've got your promise and you've got your transformation that you're going to deliver. And that is often the part that people stumble on, because what do we then do with that? We might well have got an understanding of the before and after and the transformation that we want to take people through. So how do we actually get them from that start to that end point? And actually, Brandon talked about it in the intro as well. It's this idea of just breaking things down and reverse engineering from that point backwards. So the way that we're going to do this then is thinking about your course outline, starting with the end in mind. And I like to think of this in, once again, you'll see, three-step frameworks. The first point then is to think about the milestones, and this is the sort of major key points along the way that your students, people taking your course, are going to need to actually experience in order to have that transformation. And as I say, this could be on a much broader scale, or it could be on a really small focused thing. You will find that there are these very clearly defined milestones that people need to go on. A little bit like we're doing here. Actually, there are 2 days to this workshop, and obviously there are some very clear milestones that people need to go through. We've just looked at one of them, which was defining your transformation, and now we're looking at breaking it down into different steps and creating your course outline. So this in itself is a milestone within this particular workshop. So the way to do this then is to think about some questions again, and once again I'll send these out with the workbook, is to think about basically 3 to 5 key shifts that somebody is going to need to go through, and think about what is going to be different for that person at the end of each one. And it's really just exactly the same as we've just done for the transformation, but just on a smaller scale. So really getting into the understanding of, what is that shift that needs to take place in order for, the next one and the next one to take place for them to get to the end of the process. And this is also where I talked about the minimum viable transformation. So often people are trying to make everything all at once, whereas if we just break it down into a smaller section, then if you find that you're trying to break your course down into milestones, and suddenly you're finding, all right, well, I'm up to milestone number 18 now, that's probably an indication that you might want to consider either condensing the course down or rethinking about the way that it's delivered, not so that the course itself is not too overwhelming. And then within those milestones, there are going to be some steps that people need to take to get there. And we'll look at how this splits between, your lessons and modules and things like that in a moment. But then within that, there are going to be some sort of teaching points that you're going to need to take people through in order to take those steps. So hopefully you can see we've got the overall transformation that you're looking to help people with. We've got your minimum viable transformation. And this is basically just chunking it down into smaller and smaller components. But the way that this works, though, is if you think about 2 different types of course, Ecamm is great for both of these, by the way, whether it is a recorded course or whether it is a live cohort, then, obviously, what we're doing here is pretty much a live course in many respects, but a live cohort where you've got, like, let's say weekly sessions or, a session every day for a period of time or whatever, then this is how these milestone steps and teaching points map onto it in my view. So first of all, with milestones in a recorded course, these are going to be your modules. So you have your course split up into some clearly defined modules, which are going to be the milestones that they need to reach. Now, in a live cohort, that might be, let's say, the phase of the live program. So I do some that are over 2 weeks. I do a course called the Ecamm Live Accelerator, which is 10 days, 2 weeks, and we do Monday to Friday, over 2 weeks. And week 1 is a very different thing than week 2 because there are 2 clear phases: foundations and then implementation. So that's where we've got modules and phases. And then when we are looking at the different steps, that could, depending on the size of the topic, that could be a submodule within a main module. So, for example, in Ecamm, you might have something that is a module which is all about, like say scenes, but then there might be a submodule in it that is more drilled down into a different layer below that. Now, with the live cohorts, I usually think about the steps as being their actual session. So I'll give you an example of both of these in a moment. But the teaching points then, when I'm doing pre-recorded courses, I always like to keep the course videos short, and that's because 2 things really. First of all, it makes it more easy for people to sort of watch and then watch one more and one more and one more, and that's not in my interest, that's in their interest. I'm not looking for views on YouTube. I'm talking about a course, and it's making it more consumable, because sometimes if people go into a course and they see a 2-hour video, it can be a bit daunting to go through, whereas if it's a 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 minute video or something like that, then it's a lot easier to consume. Obviously, sometimes things need to be a little bit longer than that, but you get the idea. I try to break the core teaching points down into individual lessons. So that's from a consumption point of view, that it's easier. But it also is from a sort of search point of view as well. If somebody wants to go back and just refresh or learn one particular topic, then it's easier to go back and find that. And I guess I should say, sort of selfishly from my perspective, it's easier to record a series of 5-minute videos and put those all up. And if you ever need to edit them or change them, rather, like swap them out, then it's easier to just go and replace them that way. So there's a few benefits for us as course creators as well. But from the student's point of view, the ability to find what they're looking for and just making it more consumable. Now, with a live cohort, that's where I would think about them being segments in the session. So a bit like this session is going to be, 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever, and we've got some very clear segments. So if I was doing this as a course, it's 2 hours, then you would have the different phases, just like we've got, which would be modules, but then we might have, different steps are going to be these different points that I'm talking about. Now, just to give you a bit of an example here of what I'm talking about, I want to give you two sort of worked examples for courses that I do have. Now, one of them is a program that I've got called Built from the Inside Out. It's a 12-week cohort, and this is all about learning how to start your online business, not your online education business, but also helping get over some of the things that hold us back. And this is a program that teaches the practical side, but also we use AI as a reflective mirror in order to get to the core of our core character traits and understand how to better work with them to be more efficient and get over some of the roadblocks such as procrastination and all of those other things as well. Now, in terms of the program then, there are 3 key milestones, and that is Act 1 is all about clarity, getting clarity on what you're doing, why you're doing it, who you're doing it for, and the transformation you're looking to create for people. Act 2 then is about the alignment, that is working in alignment, so you're creating the product that is going to serve your purpose and serve the people that you're ultimately serving as well, and also looking at the way that you're working, because quite often with courses and with online business, people spend a lot of time spinning their wheels, doing the wrong things, not focused on the right things at the right time. And so there's a whole process in here which is about working in alignment with your optimum performance as well. So then on Act 3, this is about the transformation, and this is where we use AI as a reflective mirror to get to the bottom of our core character traits and look how to harness those so that we can be more efficient in our work, and also to then go on to launch our product. So that is 3 clear acts. Those are the milestones. Now, when it comes to the actual steps within there, I won't go through all of these, but you'll just get the idea that this is broken down into 4 weeks for each of the acts, and so it answers some questions. Why are you here? Who are you serving? What you'll build and how you'll begin. Act 2 then is about working in alignment. And so this is about building your workflow that's going to actually deliver what you're setting out to do. Building your actual product then after that. So the course or the whatever it is you're creating. Building your offer. So that's separate to the actual course itself, is how you're going to present that. And then building the momentum to sort of continue forward as you start building things out. So then we move on to Act 3, which is the core of the sort of inner reflective work, and that is seeing yourself clearly through the reflective work that we do with AI, designing your operating system, which is designing an optimum performance system for yourself to show how you work best, and then putting your offer out into the world, and then building momentum to carry that forward. So that's just an example of a cohort style course where we've got the milestones. First of all, we've then got the steps that people take in the middle of it, and then for each of those lessons that we've just seen, there would be the learning points within there. So for example, week 11 about launch plans is talking about launch style, launch timeline, landing pages, and so on. So that's how this sort of maps onto a cohort style course. Now, when it comes to an on-demand course, it's going to be the same kind of thing. So I have a course called the Keynote Masterclass, and this one has 5 core modules, the basics of building a presentation. We've also got animations and transitions in Keynote. We've got presentation best practices, creating immersive presentations, which is what this is that I'm doing now. And then we've got exporting your Keynote content. So those are the sort of milestones that I wanted to take people through on the course. But what we've got here, though, are actually what we would call the core modules. And so when it comes to the actual outline of your course, and your course structure, you'll go through that process that we've just gone through to break down the milestones into the milestones into steps, and the steps into the learning points. And those will all come together to be the core modules of your course. But there are some other things that you would potentially want to add in as well. So the first one is going to be some sort of welcome and orientation to let people know that they're, first of all, in the right place, and this is what to expect and how to navigate maybe the portal. So I'll just show you this is the Keynote Masterclass here. and you see that there's a course introduction. That's basically just telling people, as I say, what to expect and how to find their way around. The next thing then is going to be some form of foundational modules potentially. So there is obviously always going to be some level of assumed knowledge, but it may well be that there are some things that you need to just cover as a sort of grounding before you get into the core content. So you could be creating a course that sort of addresses any single part of a bigger transformation, but there may well be some sort of foundational stuff that you want to just cover off. So once again, in the Keynote course, I've got, an introduction to Keynote to just get people up to speed with, how to find their way around the interface of Keynote, for example. The other thing then is going to be, what are the support elements that you want to put in? Now, this is actually outside of video potentially. This could be, any downloads that you're going to provide, any PDFs, or if there is any sort of community support or whatever the case may be, that might be part of that. But it may also be something that's maybe an additional video content that's outside of the core modules. And I'll just give an example for the Keynote course again. One is using Stream Deck with Keynote. It's not necessarily a core function of Keynote, but it's something that will help people to use Keynote more efficiently. So that's just an example of what that might look like. The next thing then is going to be some sort of wrap up and next steps. It's important that you don't just go through the content and then it ends there. You want to, first of all, make sure that you acknowledge what people have achieved. Maybe there's some kind of recap. I tend to do on my pre-recorded courses at the beginning and end of each module, there'll be a kind of section which is, this is what you're going to learn in this module, then the module, and then this is what we've just covered, to kind of recap. And then the same with the actual course itself. And then potentially, what are the next steps? And I mentioned at the beginning about how you might want to think about how a course fits into a broader ecosystem, or, the start of a journey, or have a next step in the journey. And so if you have got something like that, this is where you could present that as well. And this comes back again to this idea of the minimum viable transformation, because I've just shown a Keynote Masterclass and also a big 12-week program. But I will just reiterate, you don't have to solve everything. You just have to solve one thing clearly. And an example of that would be the course that I mentioned, which is the confidence switch. It doesn't matter how big it is, as long as you're delivering on the promise. And so the confidence switch, for example, is really just one module, and it's just about how to get over the camera confidence issue. And if you can deliver that in one lesson, 3 lessons, or 100, it's not the quantity that counts. It's actually just, are you delivering on that expectation that people have from the way that you've presented it in your promise. So I hope that was helpful. With that said, love to check in to see if anyone's got any questions at all.
This is like the most meta thing that I have ever experienced. Like,
yes.
like this is so exciting to see in real time. Also, there's a lot of people who teach things, but there are very few who like teach and do at the same time. And so I love that you're not only giving us the step-by-steps on what to do, but that you're also showing us how you've obviously implemented it into your own structure and how it's been successful for you. So that has been so exciting to watch. However, we do have a couple questions that came in while you were teaching that I would love to hop into. Before we get to the first question, I do have to bring up one comment that I thought was kind of important. Tatiana said, off topic, I just realized I'm wearing an Ecamm t-shirt. That's never off topic here. Okay, Tatiana, that is never off topic. That is actually on topic at all times. So wear your Ecamm swag at all times. Never apologize for that. But we do have a couple questions. Stephen asked, he agreed with the shorter lessons, but he was wanting to know, is there sort of a sweet spot with the timing? Have you found that maybe one length leads to more completions versus if it's too long, people don't make it all the way through? Is there like a sweet spot from a time point for you that you found works?
I mean, mine tend to be sort of 5 to 15 minutes, and usually on the lower end of that spectrum. But at the same time, you can't cut corners on the actual step. So that's the what it comes down to is. But if there's something where you find that you're covering lots of different teaching points in a video, then I think there's something to be said for looking at how that could be maybe trimmed down. So yeah, the 5 to 15, 20 minutes is about the length that I go for, and maybe slightly less on the lower side of that.
I like that too, because at least for some of the courses that I have taken, I also find that it's easier to go back and search for what I need to
Exactly.
learn. But
Yeah.
if it's like trapped in like a 2 hour long video, it can be very
Yeah.
hard to go
Yes. Yeah.
find that exact thing I need to learn really quick. So I definitely love that idea. Another question came in from David. He says, where do you stream a live cohort course rather than a recorded one? What
Yeah.
platform are you using?
So I'm using Kajabi for all of my business, my website, and everything. However, for live cohort courses, I actually use Zoom and then just upload the recordings into Kajabi. And the reason is, and it's the same with pretty much all of these course platforms that have a built-in streaming functionality and a built-in live video functionality, is, well, there's Ecamm for Zoom, isn't there? So I'm just, I've got to be on Zoom. But even aside from Ecamm for Zoom, even if it was, I can obviously use my Ecamm Live virtual camera into any platform. But I like to have control of the Zoom session myself. So when I'm at my desk here, I have like a touch screen that I can see the chat. I've got my other windows over here, so I can see the participants and I can see my output as well. And so really for me, it's just like the platforms that have a streaming function as course platforms, they don't have the functionality that Zoom has, quite honestly. And like, as I say, the fact that we've now got Ecamm for Zoom is just a deal breaker. With live cohorts, the way that I do it is it's just live into Zoom, but I'm able to do exactly what you're doing now, Brandon, which is when somebody asks a question, we've got active speaker mode in Ecamm, and it means that I can do my training part, but when people ask questions, they just immediately pop into a scene just like we've got here. And what that means is it's a much better replay value because you've got people watching on the replay and they can see the person who's asking the question. It just makes it so much more of a rich experience, I think, for the replays.
Yeah, I totally agree because I'm definitely one of those people who believes that while teaching live is, in my opinion, the best way to do the teaching
Yeah.
because you can engage directly with, chat
Mm-hmm.
and answer questions. But the video's value will probably live on and be greater to people who can catch the replay because not everybody can always
Yeah.
make it to the actual live. And so you'll
Mm-hmm.
probably get more viewership on the replay than you will during the live, even though teaching live is sort
Yeah.
of a better experience. So I think that allows you
Yes.
to get sort of the best of both worlds.
Absolutely, yeah, and just to that point as well, actually, from the replay value, I do with my live cohorts, I generally do the content first for half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it runs at, and then take Q&A at the end. And it's a little bit like this, where there's a structure to it, and that is again for the replay because it is easy to get distracted by questions, and the value is in the questions. You definitely learn more from a live cohort from the questions that other people ask that you hadn't thought to ask. But yeah, keeping the content first and then the Q&A after, I think, is a valuable thing to do for that purpose.
Especially when you have awesome people in the chat who are also helping answer questions. Like someone just asked about a monitor you had, and then somebody else just answered that
Yep.
question. So it definitely helps with the process, which is really, really awesome. But again,
Yep.
this has been so valuable. I know some people are really excited to get into some of the technical elements. So I don't want to slow us down. I want to go ahead and keep the momentum moving forward. So if you're good with it, we're going to go ahead and move into our next section. And again, thank you so much for all the value you've been providing. It has been awesome. I've been enjoying it. I know the chat has been enjoying it. So if you guys are just watching, hit that thumbs up button if you've been getting some value out of this. So not only we can let Alex know how valuable this has been, but we can also let the algorithm know how valuable this has been. So we can we can spread it and share it with more people. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Okay.
Cool stuff. Excellent. Thanks so much, everyone, as always, for the great questions. So let's move in now to the next section, which is really going to be focused on the tech, because one of the things that we said in the things that were sent out about this is it really isn't about the tech. And I've got to say that Ecamm really does all of the heavy lifting from my perspective. That said, I do just want to talk through some of the tech. It is certainly a case that you can start with what you've got, and I just thought it'd be useful to go through a little bit of my studio evolution here. And the first, whoops, if I go to my correct scene, that would help. Here we go. Just how easy it is with Ecamm, and there's me pressing the wrong button. So my studio evolution, actually this is technically my second studio space. I started in my my basement with a green screen, but this was when I sort of had a bit more of a better dedicated studio space. But the point I'll note about this, or point that I'll explain to you about this, is essentially that is when I had my, I think that was an old Intel Mac, that was before the M series came out. I got my monitor there, and just on top of the monitor, that is a little teleprompter. And the teleprompter has got at that point, I think it was a 10 or 12-year-old camera that was behind it. So there was no fancy new camera that I went out and bought. The two things that I did buy were the microphone, which is actually this same microphone that I've got here, the Shure MV7. The reason I bought that microphone in particular was because you can connect it over USB to your camera, to your computer. But then if you want to add in, a fancy mixer or something like that later on, then it's also got XLR connection on it as well. And so I knew that, this was going to be something that I was going to be doing. So I wanted to have something that allowed me to upgrade at a later date if I wanted to add things into my studio. But the point is, the microphone is still here, going strong. And I'll come back to that point in a moment. Also on the desk there is a Stream Deck just next to the keyboard. That is also a Stream Deck which is still sitting on my desk. The lights that you see there are the equivalent of, in Thailand, I forget how much they were in here, but they were going to be something around about the sort of $40 mark. There's nothing fancy about those. They just use regular light bulbs in them. So the point I'm making is, for the cost of a microphone and a Stream Deck, that's basically all I had invested in the actual, video production side of things, and of course, Ecamm, which, as I say, does all of the heavy lifting. Now, the studio has evolved over the years since then, and I say the years, I'm talking like 5 years, something like that. This is the studio that I'm in at the moment, or at least this is what it was like when I first moved in and started to put things in. And this is what it was like when I was running the Digital Stage Summit earlier on this year, where we had 30 speakers coming in from around the world, over 1,000 people attending live, all powered by Ecamm, and pretty much all the speakers were Ecamm users as well. So the studio has evolved here, and this is basically what I'm in right now. Now, the point I want to make about all of this, though, is that actually for all of this tech, my content is not really any better than it was 5 years ago in terms of the production value. It's really some of the things that I've added in are for convenience, really. So if you want to run a large event like I was doing, then having additional monitors to be able to monitor different things, be able to see different presentations, and be able to see everything all laid out in front of me. That's why there are so many monitors there. I had added it in a Rodecaster a few years ago as well. So this is what my Shure MV7, the same microphone that I bought 5-6 years ago, is now running through the Rodecaster. That allows me to do some audio routing. And there's other things that I've added in, change some lights and so on. But the point I want to make, though, is that, as I say, really the actual content, the ability to be able to come on camera, deliver presentations, and deliver my courses, has not been dramatically improved by all that I've invested in the studio. It's partly because I'm just a tech geek and I love all of this stuff anyway, and there are some of these things that, as I say, I've just added in because they are things that make life a little bit easier in some ways. But in terms of, you go back and watch some of my videos on YouTube 5 years ago, I would like to think that maybe I've got a little bit better at actually speaking and being on camera, but in terms of the production quality, aside from the on-screen talent, and I use that word loosely, the actual production quality is pretty much all Ecamm. And so that means then that it's within the grasp of anybody. You can certainly just use whatever gear you've got to begin with, and just think that maybe there's going to be a sort of upgrade path that you want to go on. So with that said, let's just think then about what that might look like in terms of a studio progression. And I would say that the very first thing that you can start with that doesn't cost anything is just being a little bit more conscious about your framing, as in the way that you're positioned on your camera. If you're using the built-in camera on your laptop, for example, which can still come through Ecamm, you might be on a MacBook or whatever, just think about the camera framing. And there's this thing called the rule of thirds, which is so simple to get right. But if you are not doing it, then it's really just a detriment to your sort of professional look on screen. So let me just show you what this actually looks like. If I go to here, I can just pop this thing up on screen, which is my little rule of thirds guide. If I go to the correct scene, here's me talking about how easy Ecamm is, and here's me pressing the wrong buttons again. There we go. I've got myself in the right frame now. What you'll notice on this scene is that basically my eyes are at this sort of third of the way down from the top. And if you look at people on TV, broadcasters, you're going to see the same kind of thing. And it just means that you are sort of nicely framed. The background is framed behind you, and you are at the right position on screen. What I see so often is that people have obviously heard make sure that the camera is at eye level, so it's not looking down at you and not looking up at you. That's obviously the other first mistake. People with a laptop just kind of pointing up their nose. So make sure that it is at eye level. But I think what that causes is confusion, where people think that at eye level means that your eyes are in the middle. And just take a look at how that looks compared to the other one. I mean, I know that microphone's a bit out of position, but I always feel it's just like it gives the impression of almost like a kid sitting at their parents' desk or something. So it's so simple just to think that you want to get your eyes at that third of the way down from the top. So that is the very first thing that anybody can do, whatever camera that they're using, is just to be a little bit more intentional about where they are actually placing their camera and where they are inside the frame. So that's step one. We can all do that. The next thing then is to think about the audio, and I think so many people think about video, and the first step is going to be what's the camera that they can go out and buy. But actually, the audio is the most important thing, because if you've got bad quality audio, it can be a real distraction for people that are consuming your content, and also just it's about clarity of message and making sure that people are getting the information and you are being heard clearly and articulating yourself clearly. And the other thing about microphones, which I will say, as I mentioned, this was the first microphone that I bought. I've got no intention really of swapping it out because it's doing a great job. And unlike other tech where we feel, the march of time and progress is such that, the MacBook that you saw on the desk there 5 years ago is now pretty much obsolete by today's standards. And that's the same with other tech devices. The thing about a microphone is if you just invest once in something that is high quality, it's really going to last you years and years and years. So it's definitely worth the investment, and it's the most important thing. The next thing then is to think about your lighting. And even though in that shot that I showed you of my that first iteration of the studio setup, the actual camera that I was using, although it was a reasonably good camera when I bought it, it was sort of 10, 12 years old, a DSLR camera. It certainly wasn't the latest and greatest, but I kind of just dusted it off a shelf and repurposed it into the computer. But what I did do is add in the lighting. And you may hear people talk about three-point lighting, and that is not something that you have to go out and buy any particular sort of fancy lights or anything like that. But as long as you understand the principles, then it is going to be something that is going to enhance any camera that you've got, whether that is your built-in camera, some webcam, or whatever the case may be. So just to explain how this actually works, and I've shown this a couple of times before, I think, but in case you haven't seen it, this is the basics of three-point lighting. You have got your subject, which is presumably you, sitting at the desk, and you've got the camera in front of you. The area that the camera is basically seeing is the field of view, and then you want to think about maybe you might have some lighting in the background, like I've got some background lighting there. These are called practical lights. They're basically decorative lights that you might well have in the shot, and then we've got the actual three-point lighting itself, because there are three of them. The first one is the key light. This is the primary light source that is illuminating your face. In my case, it's just over to this side here. That is this light that you see here, this large light here. And then we've also then got the fill light. And the purpose of the fill light is if you've got one major light source here and it's shining from this side, then there is going to be some shadow on the other side. And so the fill light's purpose is to basically fill in that shadow. So if I didn't have this side of my face would be more dark. And then we've got one which I prefer to call the backlight, also called the hair light. And that's the one that's behind you, shining onto from behind. And that's what's just giving you that little bit of extra separation from the background. So if I turn my backlight off, you can see that I'm sort of more dark here, whereas if I turn it back on again, then it's kind of illuminating me from behind. So those are when you hear people talk about 3-point lighting, it just means that the key light, the fill light, and the backlight. You can play around with just a single light and play around with the balance of those, but that's essentially what it is. Now, just to give you a bit more context on lighting, if you just had a light bulb basically just blaring out through all directions, then that would obviously be filling the rest of the room as well. But so much of good lighting is actually about lighting control. And so we have these diffusers that you can put on lights called softboxes or lanterns, and those are intended to take what is otherwise a small point of light, which can be quite harsh, and just give it a bit more of a softer feel to it. And actually, that's why I have this large diameter softbox in front of me, because the larger area, it's basically a 60-watt light behind it. But if that was just a single point of light, it would appear quite harsh lighting on my face from the point of view of you as the viewer. So that is diffusion. And what we can also then do is control it further with these softboxes that are more directional. And that's actually what I've got here. These are sort of two domes on either side at the front. And you can direct them further by adding what's called a grid. And the grid is essentially this thing that we just have on the front. So if I just show you this here, you can see there we've got this big dome here, and then there is this sort of grid on the front. What that does is it just directs the light out at the front, or rather it blocks the light from spilling out at the side. And so we've got one of those on the front and side here. And that is so that it's not actually going on to the back wall, but is directed at me. Now, it used to be that if you wanted lights like this, then it was going to be a really, I can't really show you this, but a really big sort of dome affair behind it that take up a lot of space. There are some really good lights now, though, like these ones from Amaran, the Verge Max, which are basically just flat panels. And you can see that that's basically just, about less than an inch thick. So that is the sort of basics of 3-point lighting. You've got the key light, the fill light, and the backlight just there. But as I say, you don't have to go out and buy specific lights for this. You can just be mindful of where you're placing your actual lights and just fit them into the room and the space around you like that. So that is 3-point lighting. And as I say, that's almost, before you think about a camera, is just think about how you can improve the lighting in your actual space. And then we come on to the actual camera itself, or rather, let me go back a step. My process there was the Stream Deck, because we'll be looking at Stream Deck tomorrow. What you'll find is the Stream Deck is really, the ideal piece of hardware to go with Ecamm, which is obviously software. Stream Deck is an amazing device for controlling Ecamm, but what you'll find is as well when you get it, it's just an amazing productivity tool. And it's why on my setup, the progression of my studio, the mic and the Stream Deck were the first two things, literally, and then everything else sort of fell around those. So the Stream Deck's really a really useful tool to have. And then the camera is almost the final one on that list then, because assuming you've got some sort of camera, and I always say, we've all got, a camera these days. And in fact, that shot that I just showed you was just using my iPhone as a camera. So here is me just using my iPhone wirelessly as a camera, and I could actually be recording my entire course like this. Obviously, I wouldn't hold it at hand's length and have it shaking like that. I'd have it mounted. But the point is, it's a really serviceable camera. So before you go out and invest in a large camera, the iPhone is a great starting point, or some of the other smaller cameras that we've got. All of the other things, though, should come before that. And in terms of then using all of that with Ecamm, we'll see in the next section how easy it is for all of that stuff to just plug into Ecamm. You can just select your microphone, select your camera, and then you'll be good to go. And I'll show you how easy it is to set all that up in the next section. So I'd love to take any questions that you've got about studio gear or anything like that.
Well, first off, this is my favorite section so far. I'm going to be honest with you. I nerd out about gear more than anything else, probably too much so, if we're being honest. But, you made a really, really valid point. And I'm going to pull back the curtain just a little bit of something that happened right before we started the stream and tell everybody about a mistake that I almost made. When we first started the stream and you and I were in the Zoom before everything got started, you made a point. You were like, I had a different microphone set up, and you were like, hey, I'm picking up some like room noise. It doesn't sound as good. And this is like, what was it, like less than 4 minutes before we were supposed to start.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we can't have this go with bad audio. So I like raced off camera for a moment, went and found this microphone, got it plugged in, got it set up, because something that you said that I personally believe to be so true is that audio is so important. It's more important than the cameras. It's more important than, even just like even your framing to a certain degree, because people will listen to a podcast and not look at anything, So I 100% agree with you on buying a good microphone. And like you said, if you buy a good microphone, it'll last you for years and years and years to come. It's not something you're going to have to upgrade nearly as often. So I do want to allow the chat, because I'm sure when it comes to tech, to there are questions. So I want to give the chat some time to absolutely go ahead and throw some of their questions in there. But while they do, I want to ask you, of all of the pieces outside of your microphone, where do you think from the product you were able to present, like for your community, what piece of gear do you think had the biggest impact on allowing you to produce the best product for your community?
I think that's got to be the teleprompter. Actually, it makes a huge difference to be able to have that connection with folks. So just to show that, like right now, I'm looking at you in there, and I've got my like run of show notes just over there. But if I'm if I'm just doing a regular video, then I'm just seeing myself sort of full screen in that teleprompter, and so I'm not using it for prompting, as in I'm not reading scripts, but it's just got my like bullet points and run of show, and I think it just allows me to be a lot more sort of engaged and present with what I'm doing. And the other thing, some people call them a confidence monitor, and I guess that's from being able to see themselves. But for me, it's also like the number of times before I had a teleprompter where I was switching scenes, looking into the camera, and then realizing partway through, oh, you know what, I thought I'd switched scene, but I'm in a completely different scene. I'm showing the wrong thing. So you're getting to actually see the output live in the teleprompter. So it makes a huge difference, and for the eye contact on Zoom calls in particular, it's huge.
Well, no, don't ever feel bad for pressing the wrong button and going to the wrong scene. I think we've all done that, and if you say you've never done that, you're lying to yourself and everybody else. Like, we're all guilty of that at some point. So I think that's absolutely normal. One question that did come through the chat was, what kind of lights would you recommend that would be for a portable setup, like traveling or doing videos while in an RV?
There's some really good portable lights now, really, from Nanlite. So the ones that are behind me actually these are, I guess, 4 years old now. It's the Nanlite Pavo tubes, and they're RGB, but they're also white. So, and they're magnetic, so you can literally have them like hooked somewhere if you're in an RV. And I don't know what your sort of desk setup is, but if you've got things, cupboards or things like that, then you could just hook them underneath there and magnetically attach them underneath there. There are some other great lights from Amaran as well. So the big light that I've got, if you want to have something that is kind of large and you've got the power for it, but you just don't have the depth for big soft boxes, then that one that I showed you, the Amaran Verge Max, it's literally it's wafer thin.
Yeah,
it comes with a mount that you can mount it. So that's a great option as well if you want like a full size light, but just you don't have the depth for it.
Yeah, I like the Amaranth Verge Max is also really cool because it's powered off of a USB-C. Now, granted, you do have to have enough power coming through it, but it is USB-C power, so that makes it really, really portable. And like you mentioned, it's about like less than an inch thick, but it's still a super soft and super bright light, depending on your lighting scenario. So yeah, I absolutely love that light as well. Question came in.
There's another.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just quickly to that, there's another series of lights that have come out from Ulanzi and some other companies, and they're basically inflatable because the reason to have a big softbox is that it gives you this more diffuse light, and it's better that, imagine somebody pointing a tiny little flashlight at you, it's going to be like a harsh spot, whereas if it's, a broad light source, it's going to be much softer. And so there are a series of inflatable like tube lights, but it means that it gives you a big area with, a good power good wattage of light inside, but then when you're not using them, you can just deflate them and they pack away nicely. So that might be another option to consider.
You know, the thing I like about you, because you're very similar to me, where the brand actually doesn't matter. It's like whatever
Yeah.
product allows me to give the best
Solve
result.
my problem.
Yeah, like
and
that's
take
all
my
I
money.
that's all I want. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so you're a
yes,
little
yeah.
brand agnostic. I personally appreciate that because I'm very brand agnostic. I'm like, just give me whatever is going to get the job done. Keep it simple,
Yeah.
keep it affordable, and let's keep moving forward because I'm going to probably buy a lot of stuff.
That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
another question came in. They're asking what mics are being used today. So I'm pretty sure we're both running Sures, but what
Yeah.
is your model?
This is the Shure MV7. There's now the Shure MV7 Plus, and there's other models that have come out since this one, but that's what I'm using here. I have also got a Rode PodMic USB, which is similar to this in the fact that it's both USB and XLR. And the thing about that is, if you want to just get a decent mic, and you think maybe in the future you might want to add in like a Rodecaster, which is an audio mixer. Having the dual USB and XLR is useful then, because you can start on USB and then migrate over to XLR later.
Yeah.
So that's, but yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm using the Shure SM7DB, and it's a great mic. But ironically, I'm actually going XLR into Shure makes like a XLR to USB-C
Yep.
adapter, and because I find
Yep.
that it's just easy to plug that directly into my laptop here. And again,
Yep.
I'm about simplicity, so make it easy for me. I
Yes,
can
yeah.
plug it straight in. Ecamm automatically sees it, and it works.
Yeah.
All right, got a couple other quick questions I want to get through here really quick, so we'll just kind of blitz through these. So this one's coming from, it says, what content do you choose to monitor yourself or guest screens, and how many outputs does Ecamm host? So how are you choosing which monitors, like are you looking at just your program feed, and on your additional monitors, what else are you monitoring in real time?
Yeah, I mean, it varies depending on what I'm doing, and it's going to look a bit weird now because basically I'm seeing myself in multiple places. But I have my Keynote is down there, so that's my Keynote presentation. But it's got live video coming through it, so it just looks like it's my camera. But you'll see in a minute that's Keynote. On this monitor up here, maybe actually this is not going to shake as much if I do it like this. That's much better.
There we go.
So that's Keynote. This is any content that I want to share, like a web page or anything like that, is going to be up here. And actually, I can have basically the reason I've got this large monitor is because I use a tool called Moom that I can use to basically tile my content quite quickly, so I can share things in each of these different areas, and those correspond to scenes that I have in Ecamm, which are basically sharing then, the top middle, top left, and bottom right, and whatever. So I can just share all of those as I want to. So then in my teleprompter, normally that is if I'm recording a video, then it will just Ecamm will be in there as the video monitor. So I'm looking at Ecamm. If I'm doing a Zoom session, if it's a live workshop, then I'll have my feed in the teleprompter to begin with, and the gallery down below. And then when I'm doing Q&A, I can switch those around. This monitor on the side is just purely for Ecamm. So that's where I have my Ecamm set up, the scenes, the overlays, and everything like that, just so that if I need to change anything and my Stream Deck fails, I can always see that. And then this is my touchscreen monitor. It's the Dell P2424 HT, and the T's for the touch. And so this is where, like, I've got the chat in here. If I was running this, then I could just tap on the Ecamm chat to have the thing come up onto the screen. When I'm running the Zoom session, I'll have all the Zoom host controls here, so I can let people into the session, ask them to unmute and control everything. So this is kind of like the control for a live session, essentially. That's what I do from this one. And then sometimes I do demos with a secondary Mac. So that's what this Mac is for here. And everything else is being powered by an M4 Mac Mini Pro just down there.
Dude, that is awesome. I appreciate that entire setup. I'm a nerd for those kind of things. Like I think that's actually one of the first videos I saw of yours was like your entire setup, because I was like, this is clearly a professional setup. Let me watch it and see like what little nuggets I can sort of steal and add to my own stuff. one final tech question for this section here. And I noticed that we both are running sort of similar options, but they said, did you mention anything about sound return to verify that you're working correctly? I see you're using headphones. So I'd love to hear you sort of speak on what headphones or in-ears that you're using and why you like actually having in-ears in while you're streaming.
Yeah, so it's the model that I'm using is KZZS10 or KZZS10, and they're in-ear monitors. Those are going into my Rodecaster, and so that allows me to hear everything back. To monitor the level, but then also it means that if there is any audio playing, or if when you're speaking, Brandon, for example, then it's not coming out of speakers. And although noise cancellation is is great on Zoom and Ecamm and things like that these days, it's just better if it's just not having to handle all of that stuff, because basically it's having to process it and remove it. So that's why I always wear these. I had an issue, a power outage last week, and so I ended up working at home in my just on my laptop with earphones in on Zoom, and it was the first time I'd used Zoom for the longest time, like years, without using in-ear headphones. And the thing is, like the first time you are monitoring audio and you can hear your own voice back through the headphones, it's kind of weird, and it takes a little bit to just get used to the fact that you're speaking and you can hear yourself back in your earphones. But I tell you what, the other day when I just was wearing my AirPods and I was on a Zoom call and I couldn't hear my own voice back through my earphones, it was weird. So you get used to it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I love having the in-ears for being able to monitor everything in real time. Also, I find that in-ears also do a really good job of blocking external sounds when I'm actually monitoring. But also, I think while yes, we do have the built-in slapback remover, I personally love just being able to monitor, and I find that it is easier on the computer and everything else to just have headphones in. And whether you decide to go with in-ears, I think this is more for me an aesthetic choice, so it doesn't look like I have big bulky headphones on, or you do decide to just wear regular headphones or Apple headphones. I think just being able to monitor to ensure that you're giving the best experience for your viewers as possible is do whatever that takes in order, like you said, work from what is the transformation I'm trying to achieve, work backwards. And if that's monitoring your audio to make sure that everything sounds good through the process, I think that's definitely the way to go.
Absolutely. To the point there about over-ear versus in-ear, I mean, I have got some Rode over-the-ear headphones, which I do listen to, but I never wear them on the videos. I always, personally, I've got no data to back this up or anything, but I always feel that it just puts a bit more of a barrier between you. Like there's something about, like if you're just out in the world and there's somebody and you're having a conversation with them, but they've got headphones over the top of their ears, your natural instinct is that, are they listening to me or not? And so I think I prefer the sort of discreet thing from that point of view. I think it just has a bit of a like more intimate connection than if you've got massive big cans over your head.
Totally agree. All right, so I know we have a little bit more that we want to jump into. We have another section here. I want to be able to turn that back over to you. And then, guys, we are going to have some more time at the end of this section for more Q&A. Some really great questions are coming in. Also, in case you are tuning in just a little bit later, we will be having our day 2 link on Zoom. So if you have already registered, you're going to get the email for that Zoom call. You don't have to do anything extra. But if you just happen to stumble across this live stream here on YouTube and you didn't know that this is something that you could register for, I'm going to strongly recommend that you click the first link in the description, sign up. So not only can you get the link for the Zoom call, but also everything that Alex has been talking about. We're going to be sending over that blueprint. We're going to be able to send you guys any additional resources as well as access to the replays. That way you can have all of this information in case you happen to miss anything, because we get it. Life happens. You might have to step away or whatever, but we want to make sure that you have all these resources so you can start seeing some actual changes in your course creation journey. So be sure to click that first link, go ahead and sign up so that way you get all the information. But I don't want to slow us down. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you, Alex. That way you can take us through our fourth section.
Cool stuff. So I mentioned right at the beginning about, is this something that you can actually do? And I said, don't worry about it. Honestly, Ecamm makes it so simple. And that is exactly what I'm going to show you now, because it's so easy to just go from, and somebody asked the question about, how am I delivering the content to this? What you're looking at here, you could say that this is almost, we're going to do a quick sort of demo tomorrow actually of recording a course lesson from start to finish, but this whole thing has just been a course lesson, and it's all done just with some simple scenes in Ecamm. And I will say, just like when you look at people's studio setups, and you may be in the Ecamm community and seeing what other people are doing, and feeling like you've got to have all of that before you start. You absolutely don't have to have all of the gear. Well, it's the same with Ecamm. You can look at all the fancy things that are going on with people's Ecamm scenes and feel like you've got to have all of that. But really, what is a course at the end of the day? A course is you being able to communicate with somebody and share some information. And the very first step for that is obviously you've got your camera framing, you've sorted out your lighting, and you are just on screen. And then it's just a case of bringing some content up onto the screen. And that's really all you need for a course in its sort of basic form. So let's take a look at how easy it is to just create just a few scenes that you might want to use in order to share your knowledge with people. So Ecamm has this great feature called live demo mode, which means I can just show you my desktop. You can see what I'm seeing now on my Ecamm screen. And so just for those that are new to Ecamm, I just want to give you a quick orientation here. There's really 3 scenes that I'm going to look at today, maybe a 4th one, but the 3 windows that I'm going to talk through today. So the first one is the scenes window. All of these different views, if you like, that you've been seeing as we've been flicking through this workshop, the one with, for example, me and Brandon, there's this one which is just me, we've got another one which is the comments coming up. All of those different things are scenes, and so you could think of those as pretty much like slides in a slide deck, for example, if you want to think of it that way. So a scene is basically just a particular view that you are presenting into the video. Now then, within the scene itself, you've got overlays. Now overlays are all the elements that you're finding in the scene. So for example, in this scene right now, you can see we've got like a little ticker going along the bottom. There's a little Ecamm logo just up in the top corner. Where is it? Over there. By the way, 5 years, I still always point in the exact wrong direction every time. We've got a clock up in the top corner there as well, a little timer. So you've got all sorts of different elements there appearing on the screen, and those are all overlays. So when it comes to a course, the very basics, you might want to have your camera, maybe you want to have also a presentation, and maybe you might want to do a screen share of some content on your screen. So let's just see how easy it is to build those out. And I've hidden all of my scenes and overlays for the time being, so just ignore these folders. Imagine this is completely blank. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new scene first of all. So let me just come to this button down here where you see the little plus icon. That's going to create a new scene, and it should be, in theory, there we go, completely blank to start with. So we've just got a blank screen here. And by the way, you may actually start with a camera just taking over the full screen. That is something called camera source. I prefer to start with a completely blank scene and just build it up in layers. So what I'm going to do is go over to where you see the source menu at the top here, and I'm going to change that to blank. So we're starting effectively like a fresh sheet of paper, a blank canvas to work with. So the first thing then is we've got down here in our overlays window. This is where I mentioned about overlays being all of the elements that are appearing in the scene. And so we've got an overlay which is called a camera overlay. And if I click on that little icon there, it's going to basically add in our camera, and you can see how now we've got the camera in the scene. But I can basically just move this around, and it's so easy to design with Ecamm. I know somebody mentioned OBS in the chat before, and there's some other live production software. I've got to say that I just found Ecamm was a breath of fresh air for just how easy it is to just design things and put things where you want them. I can change the size of that, obviously, as you could just see there. I can change the aspect ratio, so if I want to just make this camera whatever size I need it to be in the scene, it's just as simple as sort of dragging and dropping it just like that. You've got some other elements that other settings you can change here, and I won't go into all of them, but if you click this little pencil icon here, you can do things like decide what color border you want. So if you want no border, or you can add a colored border. You can change the border thickness. You can change the corner radius on the border as well, so you can just really get the styling exactly as you want it. And so I've been just sort of messing about here. If I was doing this from scratch, this would have been a lot more of a straightforward process, because I would have just basically taken the camera and then just put it exactly where I wanted it into the scene, like that. Now, what you may have noticed is obviously there is a particular style going on in this scene that I'm sharing right now, as in the one that Brandon has set up, where we've got this background going on. And that's something that you can do to add real consistency to your scenes. So if I just go to some of my other scenes for the time being, you'll see what I mean here. Like if I go to this one here, which is my my other camera shot, you'll notice that in my scene, which is now kind of contained within Brandon's, I've got this extra border thing going on. There's some sort of orange and teal swirls there. There's a background animation going on. And if I go over to one of my screen share scenes, you can see that it's got that same background in. There's the same subtle background animation going on. And here I've got my camera and my my screen share. So the fact is that that is something that was very easy to create. And if I just go back to that scene that I was creating as a demo, if I can actually find it, that's always the danger, isn't it, of flipping out of your scene. There we go. I'll come back to it there. So now we're in this this blank scene. So how do we give it that consistent look in the background? So if I just go into my live demo mode again, it really is just as simple as taking an image or a movie, and we just add it into our overlays window. So I've got a selection here of just some little images. So let's take one here that's a nice Ecamm colors, and I'm just going to drag this image and I'm going to drop it into where it says show in background. And what that means is it's going to then be in the background of every single scene. So if I just release that there, that is now in the background. And if I come out of my demo mode, you can see that I've just now put this this colored border, which is now appearing behind the camera. So we've now effectively, if I just adjust my camera a little bit, we've now got a scene which has got my my camera in it, and we've got the background. So then we are potentially going to want to share a presentation, perhaps. So let me just change the name of this scene. I'll just put this, call this one camera. Now let's say we want to create a scene which is going to have a PowerPoint or Keynote slides in. So I have got a separate PowerPoint presentation open. So I'll just go through the process of creating a scene which is basically sharing that presentation. So first thing then is to create a new scene. And actually what I might do is just duplicate the one that I've already got, because it's already got my camera in it. So if I click on duplicate, now this is basically just a copy of it. I'm still going to want my camera in, but I want to have a space for my presentation. Now, I'm just going to put my camera up here for the time being. You saw before where I added in the camera by clicking on the camera overlay button here. Well, there's also this one, which is a screen share overlay. And if I click on that button, it's going to add in here. That's actually added in my entire other desktop, but I can select what it is I want to share. So if I click the little pencil icon there, and I'm going to share actually Microsoft PowerPoint here instead, just like that. And so now I've got my slide deck from PowerPoint. There's a little header at the top there of the PowerPoint window, so I can hold down Option and just crop that out. So now I've got a scene set up that has got my slide deck and then also my camera in it as well. I quite like there's a little perspective feature, so it just makes it look more like I'm looking into the content. So that is clicking on the little pencil icon, and then we adjust the perspective just like this. So there we've got some perspective on that particular overlay. It also, I think, allows you to sort of see it slightly larger on the screen. And then I'm going to do exactly the same with my camera, just adding a bit of perspective the other way, just like that. And so now we've got a scene that is set up with PowerPoint, and then also my my camera in the shot as well. At the moment, my camera's behind it. It's really easy to just reorganize things in Ecamm. So if I go over to the overlays window, then I can just drag that up to the top there, and now we've got my camera over the top. Now, that's just some random presentation I've got. So imagine this was a course presentation. But now the point is you can see that now we've got a scene with my camera and a scene with our slides. And if this was actually a course presentation, then I could just be going through my slides just like this. And it's bringing it into Ecamm. So if you have already got an existing slide deck, it's really easy to just bring it into Ecamm in this way. And now you can do a lot of design stuff in Ecamm itself, I should say. essentially. So what you're seeing down below with things like the ticker that's running along the bottom, that is a text overlay in Ecamm. You've got the Ecamm graphic just down here. That is an image overlay in Ecamm. We've got some other text down here, which is also text overlays. And actually for production, this is a really good way to have text coming in. For my courses, I always prefer to have the actual course content rather than building all of that out in individual Ecamm overlays and Ecamm scenes. I kind of treat Ecamm as the live production aspect, and the presentation aspect is done with, in my case, usually Keynote. And the reason for that is it really keeps the Ecamm setup very lean, because we don't have to have lots of scenes and lots of different overlays. We've just got a really lean setup with a couple of scenes, and then the actual presentations are then made in Keynote, and we're just kind of bringing those in. Now, there are a couple of other scenes that you might want to add into the mix as well. If I share my Ecamm instead of my main desktop, coming back to here, there we go. I'll get there eventually. So the other thing that we might want to do is maybe share a desktop. So you saw there that I've got some different Safari windows on. We might want to share some of those. So what I'll do is I'll go to this scene again, which was the presentation scene, and I'll call that PowerPoint, actually, because it is PowerPoint application. And now what I'm going to do is just duplicate that one. So again, hitting the duplicate button down here, and now let's call this screen share. Like that. And so what I'm going to do is just simply come into the overlay, which was the one that was previously Keynote, PowerPoint, sorry, and I'm going to just change that to be my main desktop. So if I go to primary desktop, now you can see everything that is on that desktop, and actually that's a kind of 4K screen. It's a 43-inch screen, so that's probably maybe a little bit too much information to have on the screen, but we can easily crop into different areas of that by just holding down the Option key and dragging into the corner of or on the edges rather of the overlay itself. So just like this, I'm going to crop into that particular area of the screen, and now I can just resize that, and what you can see there is I've just created a nice scene that has my camera in it, but we've also cropped into a particular area of the desktop itself. And so this is what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about my my screen layout, is that it means that I've got my presentation. In this case, there's PowerPoint down there, so I can still have visibility of that, whereas at the top here, maybe this is something that I want to share, and so that scene that I've just created then is basically just cropped into just that top corner there. So if I go back to that screen now, we've got my my screen share just like that. And so really I could create an entire course like this, because I've got my my main camera, I've got a scene that is bringing in a presentation slide deck, and then I've also got a scene that is sharing a screen share. Now, what we'll see tomorrow is in the Zoom session is we'll be looking at how you then use Stream Deck to be the mission control that allows you to easily flick back and forth between all of these things, and you really build up a muscle memory, so it becomes kind of effortless to do it. At the moment, because I've just built those scenes, I'm having to kind of look at the scenes to switch them. But ultimately, what happens is when you have got your scene set up, you don't have to do that. So like right now that I'm in my main scenes, if I want to switch to the camera over on that side, I don't have to think about where I'm pressing. I just instinctively know where the button is on my Stream Deck. Same if I want to share the screen, I'm just pressing a button and it's going to that scene over there. Same if I want to share my Keynote presentation, I just instinctively know where to press. Now, on the topic of Keynote, I just want to mention, because somebody asked it earlier on, the way that I like to do my presentations is actually to use Keynote for the video and the animations all together, and then bring the whole thing into Keynote. So let me just show you how that is set up. And actually, the easiest way to do that is just to show you the Keynote presentation that I've got running, which has been everything that you've seen on the session today. So I'll just make this a little bit bigger on the screen, and I'll exit the presentation. What you can see here is my slides here. So let's just go up to the first one. You can see here that it is a slide in Keynote. We've got this here, which is live video, that you'll find under media in the Keynote toolbar at the top there, and you can add live video in. And what that does, the reason why I add my live video in here is because Keynote has got this function called Magic Move. The PowerPoint has a comparable function called Morph, and what that means is that anything that is in a particular slide, if I go to the next slide, you'll see that in this slide, my camera is basically, it's moved across a bit. So it just moved from left to right, just like that. And all of these slides that you saw me go through today have been really quick for me to build out, because I've got all of these templates ready made. So if I've got a new presentation to make, I'm not having to build out everything in Ecamm. I'm kind of just then duplicating slides and changing the text in them just like this. But what this gives you is it gives you this sort of smooth movement of the of Keynote as it animates across. So and by the way, Ecamm does have a comparable function for going from one scene to the next. If you've got a camera on one scene, it will animate over on the next scene. But what this is doing is it's combining that though with all of the the on-screen graphics and things like that as well. So let me just play this presentation then, and obviously you've already seen this, but now what you'll see is actually the way that this looks in Ecamm. So if I just go out of my my demo mode now, you'll see that now what you're seeing is the slide in Keynote that's got my video coming into it. That then is coming into Ecamm, and so when I advance to the next slide, it's just using the magic move to move my camera across, and then we've got the animation to bring the graphics up on screen. And all I'm doing is I'm pressing a Stream Deck pedal on the floor, which is then advancing the slides. So as I go through and deliver the content, I can do it hands-free, and I'm basically just pressing a pedal on the floor, which is advancing the slides. And then at some point when the slides need to get out of the way, because I've gone through that sort of run of show in my slides, eventually that will all just sort of disappear off the screen, like this one here, for example. You'll see that when we actually get to the end of this slide, it comes up with these little animations, and then that just moves off. And this really looks like it's just my main camera coming into Ecamm, but just note that now you know the secret, it's actually the live video coming into here first. Now, what that actually means when I talked about the idea of this basically streamlining my workflow, it means that in Ecamm, I've potentially got 2 or 3 scenes, my presentation, my main camera potentially, maybe a screen share, and then I've got another button for Stream Deck, which is basically just sort of next slide, and so on, and it's just advancing them. And all that is in actual Ecamm itself to build out. You've already seen how I've done a screen share scene, so let's just do one more, and I'll go to that PowerPoint one that I had up previously and just duplicate that. And now if I, instead of going into PowerPoint, I'm going to change that to be Keynote. Just like that. And then here where we've got Keynote, if I hit the little pencil icon and I can change this to be Keynote like that. And now you can see, if I could just get rid of my camera, that is actually the camera that's coming in directly through Keynote. And you can tell because if I advance the slides again with my foot, the next animation will come up. So you see there that is just actually a screen share of the presentation. And then I can go down to here, take that perspective off, and I can just put that back up at the top. Reset the crop there just like that. So you'll see that now looks like pretty much the same as the scene that we started on, which is the one that I've been delivering this session through. And then I'll just come off live demo mode, and now I'm back to normal. So that is generally how I deliver all of my my sessions. And it really is, we said you don't need any fancy gear and you don't need to be an expert with Ecamm. For all of the power that Ecamm's got, you can literally set up a couple of scenes, put in a nice branded background, and you could be making a course within, literally within an hour, you could be actually recording. So with that said, I'd love to take any questions that any folks have got. I'll just reset my backgrounds a little bit.
Oh, I wish people could have seen me when you showed off the Keynote, bringing your camera through, because I was just sitting here going, like, I have never done that. I have never done that, nor have I ever seen that. And that is the reason why I love coming to workshops like this, is because that's part of the creative process that's just different than other people. That when you see how somebody else is doing it, my brain immediately lit up and was like, oh my gosh, I could totally do that, because in Keynote, it's a little bit easier to do this section, and then I can bring this section into Ecamm. And so thank you so much for showing us how you do that. it's going to change the way I do some of my presentations. And I'm definitely a huge sucker for a pedal. And so, like, being able to
Oh,
just
yes, yeah.
have if you guys don't know what he's talking about, Elgato, the same company that makes the Stream Deck, makes a 3-button like pedal. Yep, that's it right there. You literally can put it on the floor and then use your feet to be able to pretty much anything that the Stream Deck can do. It's just 3 buttons. And so you can use it to advance slides. You can use it to switch cameras, which is what I have used mine for our live stream. We do a live stream every Friday, and there's 3 cameras. And I just have each pedal set to a different camera. But that's how we use it. But thank you so much. And chat, I mean, again, he's been giving away nonstop gold this entire time. So please be sure. We're going to jump into our Q&A here in just a second because some amazing questions did come through. But this has been absolutely amazing. That keynote note is something that I'm going to come back and rewatch. But I know you're going to be going over some more of that tomorrow on the actual Zoom call. So guys, if you want more detail, more step-by-step, how he actually creates this, be sure to be here tomorrow for the Zoom call. But I do want to hop into a couple questions that came through while you were there, while you were actually teaching. One was on demo mode. This is something that I have to admittedly say I don't really use demo mode that often because for the content that I create, it's typically not showing the behind the scenes on Ecamm itself. But you were doing something really cool within demo mode, which is where anytime you were showing anything, you were zooming in to make sure that we could see what you were talking about, which thank you. But the question is, how were you doing those quick zoom ins while in demo mode?
Cool. So that's a function in the Mac accessibility features. So if you go into your Mac, or let me put it where I can see it. There we go. So if you go into your Mac settings and then go into accessibility, and then there's a function in here which says zoom. So click on zoom. And then in there, you've got these keyboard shortcuts, which are Option Command 8, Option Command equals, and Option Command minus. So toggle those on. There is another function which actually caught me out for the longest time because they kind of changed this. But if you have got those toggled on and you found that this used to work in Ecamm and suddenly it stopped, if you go into the advanced features here, you'll see that there is an option here which didn't used to be here, which says show zoomed image while sharing the screen. So when you toggle that one on, then that one is going to mean that it comes through into Ecamm in the screen share, whether it is an overlay, whether you're in demo mode or whatever. So I use that not just in demo mode, but also if I'm in like a screen share scene where I'm sharing the scene. And actually, the thing that I've then done with that is if I just go to here, let me just see if I can share the right thing like this. So let me go to my Stream Deck. And if you go to the Stream Deck Plus, we'll be talking more about Stream Deck tomorrow. But if you go to the Stream Deck Plus, there is this hotkey action that you can add to a rotary dial. And so you just add the hotkey action to the rotary dial. And so there you've got basically, when I rotate it counterclockwise, it does that Command Option minus, which is the zoom out, and Command Option equals zooms in. And the Command Option 8 basically just toggles the zoom on and off. So when you actually see me doing it, that's technically how I'm doing it. I'm just turning a dial on the Stream Deck Plus.
Guys, if you didn't plan on coming tomorrow, I would strongly come in tomorrow because learning how to use the Stream Deck in connection with everything else you're doing, it definitely makes the teaching process so much easier. I mean, you guys can kind of see it in my frame, but I actually have a Stream Deck right here. That's how I've been actually switching scenes and bringing up all the graphics and overlays that you guys have been seeing. It definitely makes a huge difference. So if you haven't, sign up and be here tomorrow for the Zoom call because you'll also be able to ask your questions there as well. I got a question about this stream that I did want to answer because I think it's really notable when it comes to creating content, especially, when you're teaching live, but then you're also creating for the replay. And the question came in, it says, I noticed that there's a timer in the upper left corner. How is that applied and what is the purpose of it for this presentation? So that's actually a feature directly within Ecamm, just like all the other overlays that Alec showed. There is a timer overlay, and I have that just attached to a Stream Deck button here. And that puts a 15-minute timer up here. And that's primarily been for Alec and I to be able to keep track of where we are within the stream. But the nice thing is that because Ecamm allows you to record all of your ISOs individually, that timer won't be a part of the replay that we will share later. It's just part of this here for the live stream. And I think it's a really good point to bring up because, there is two different experiences when you're teaching for live, but you're also recording for a replay. It's give the best experience you can live while you can, but you can get away with
Hmm.
things like having a timer up in the top right corner. And then when you use Ecamm and you're able to record all your individual ISOs, you can make sure that that is not a part of that process.
Hmm.
Even things like the ticker at the bottom that we have, those are elements that most likely won't be a part of the replay. And we can do that because we can record those in Ecamm. So I just wanted to answer that question. And I personally
Can
think
I
for me
can
as
I
a
show?
teacher, yeah, go ahead.
Could you just put me like in the spotlight a minute? Because I just want to show something which I didn't demo, but it's really useful to know about for course creation.
Yeah.
Let me just see. Let me put this up again. So if I go to my screen share, for example, what I didn't show in the demo is I'm actually using dual mode right now in Ecamm, and that is just a game changer, quite frankly, for repurposing. Because although I showed the demo on just the horizontal pane here, I had just sneakily hidden the vertical one off the edge, so as not to get too distracted by it. But what that allows you to do from a repurposing point of view is you can create two separate scenes. One of them is the horizontal version and one of them is the vertical version. And so this means that here I can be doing my demo. I can show things that are going on in this web page, for example, but you can see how it's coming in live in both formats. Now, my whole channel is called Take One Tech because I make everything in one take with no edits. The idea of going in and repurposing was just always such a pain to me, whereas now this has just made it completely effortless, because all you're doing really is going in and actually just clipping things. So if you are creating course content, you might as well have a vertical ready version of it, because maybe some of those course videos could be clipped out and you could make short form content out of them as well. So dual mode in Ecamm is it's been said too many times, is a game changer.
Absolutely. I love using dual mode. I actually use dual mode for creating just like my vertical clips. And so I'll have
Yep.
a certain recording going just for that, even though we don't always, I mean, this is a little bit of a future note that I'm going to have for a workshop in the future, but I'll record certain things in vertical, just knowing I'm
Yep.
going to send that to like an Opus Clips or something along those lines to give
Yeah.
me
Yep.
some clips. And
Hmm.
that way my horizontal can be presented one way, vertical is for repurposing. So yeah, absolutely
Yep.
is amazing. There another question that came through, and actually we'll use one of our fun little our secondary ones here. Do you have a separate profile to use for dual mode?
I have one profile, and it's if I'm recording a video, I might as well have a vertical version of it, and if I don't need it, I'll just delete it. The reason why I just have one profile is because if I want to if I want to change up the look of it, I'm basically just changing the background image. So I've got a few different backgrounds. So I'm always using the same scenes. I always want to share Keynote. I always want to share my screen. I always want to use my multiple camera angles. So I've actually gone away from using profiles really, because I generally am just doing like the one branded thing, but I can switch out the backgrounds like that. But I'm figuring that like all of my content, I'm just keeping an archive of it in both formats, and at some point, it may well get repurposed. And if I absolutely don't need the vertical or the horizontal, I'll just delete it. But it means that I don't have to be thinking about different Stream Deck profiles and which Ecamm profile that corresponds to. It's just clean to have just one profile for me. So that's my approach.
I actually like that a lot because I definitely was somebody who runs multiple different shows. In each show, I was giving a different profile, but then I had to go in and relink my Stream Deck to work with like certain assets.
Hmm.
So I like your idea of one profile. I might adopt that going forward. Um, there was another question on the tech. So they were looking up your monitor, I believe your touch monitor,
Hmm.
and they're saying that they're getting a small dimension. So they were wondering what dimensions is your Dell 2424.
Yeah, it is the Dell 24 P2424 HT, and it's make sure it's got the T on it because that is a touch screen. But it's 24-inch and it's 1920 by 1080. So that's what this monitor is. It's 24-inch across, corner to corner, and it's 1080. And actually, feels to me like the right resolution for it. For the touch targets. If it was a 4K at that size, then with my fat fingers, I might not be tapping in the right place. So it seems to work from that perspective. It does come with a stand that allows you to put it angle it down and put it in this flat position. I did actually remove the stand and use a different one because the one that comes with it sort of sticks out at the back a little bit too much. And because of the way I've got my teleprompter, I've got another monitor underneath that, and then this one's like in a big sort of stack effectively, so it just gave me a little bit more desk space. But the stand that it does come with is really solid though.
I love how you have your everything set up. I feel like your setup comes from a place of I was doing something, and then I needed something to be a little bit better, so I tweaked it. And then I was doing something else, and I needed something else to be a little bit better, so I tweaked this too. So I love how like you've just continued to just tweak your setup until it's gotten. I don't think a setup is ever perfect, but it's gotten a lot better to where you can always get the best experience.
Yeah, no, we were talking about that in one of our academy sessions earlier on, which is that there can be this feeling, especially when you're starting out and you're thinking, oh, I need to get this thing, or it's a camera or a stream deck or something, and then you think, oh, if I just get that, I'll have everything I need, and then you want something else, and then well, now I've got to get a different dock in order to plug all of this stuff into, and then maybe you want to add another monitor, but there's a limit of monitors on the Mac, and so you've got to get a different type of dock to plug that into, and I know that I felt that at the beginning because I'm a tech head, and so I wanted to get all of this stuff, but it did have this feeling of like, is this ever going to end? But I'm happy to say, like, there is definitely a plateau where you feel like I've got the things that are making this like comfortable, and everything else after that. And I'm talking like relatively quickly. The last 4 years have been, everything that I've added in has just been an extravagance. so it's just it didn't take long to get a decent basic setup that will really, like as I say, my content is not that much better after all that's been invested in it.
Yeah, what do they call it? The law of diminishing returns. It's like.
That's exactly that.
And they diminish pretty quickly.
Yes.
All right. Another question that came in while we have a few more moments here. And Laura, there are no dumb questions, so don't worry about that. But she says, so vertical and horizontal are recording at the same time. How do you publish just one or the other? So I know this is a pretty, I know this is a question that you deal with depending on where you're streaming to. But do you want to walk her through how we do this?
Yeah, sure. So when you've got the dual mode in Ecamm, and that's what you've set as the shape of your recording, basically when you hit record and then you hit end, you're just left with two files. So it's two separate recordings, and one of them will have the exact same name as the other, but then just vertical in brackets afterwards. So it's up to you what you do with those. You could publish one to YouTube, you could publish a vertical to TikTok or wherever you want. You can do with what you want. You've just got two separate files. Now, we haven't really talked about live streaming in this session because it's been more about recorded videos and live cohorts in Zoom or whatever. But obviously, Ecamm can live stream, and you can do multi-streaming in Ecamm. So as well, what you can do is maybe you want to live stream in horizontal to YouTube, but then maybe vertical to Instagram or Facebook or wherever you want to go to. And so at the point where we haven't really covered setting up for live streaming, but when you go to schedule a stream and you can add in the different destinations, you can also choose whether you want it to be vertical, horizontal, or both. And so you've got that full control over that really as to what you're streaming where. And then once it's recorded, you've got the two files that you can choose where you want to put those as well.
Love that. Thank you so much for breaking that down. And guys, I just want to say again, Alec, I appreciate everything that you have provided today.
Thank you.
You have not only taught an amazing lesson that obviously was very well planned, but you also taught it while showing it at the same time. So we not only got a chance to hear how it works, but we also got to experience it and see how it felt. as a viewer. And for me, that was so valuable because it allowed me to say, like, this is the same type of experience I want my potential course viewer to have while watching, to walk away feeling valued, to walk away knowing exactly what the next steps were, and to walk away knowing like, oh, I just need to make sometimes a simple simple life change or provide the answer to a simple problem. But as long as it's clear and I give them that transformation, then I did my job, which I feel like you did very well here today. So thank you so much again. Before I let you go, I know there's a lot of resources that we're going to be giving out, and so we're going to be sending out those emails. But if anybody wants to keep up with what you're doing, they want to continue to follow you, they want to just, they just need more Alec in their life, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Cool. So yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Take One Tech, and then also takeonetech.io is my website that links to all of the other things as well. There's dozens of courses. I've got an academy which gives you access to all of those courses on a membership, and then there's various other programs running throughout the year, as well as the on-demand courses. I run live cohorts. The one that I should absolutely say is there's a completely free Ecamm Masterclass that I created, which is ecammmasterclass.com. That is a true masterclass from everything you need to know about Ecamm. It's completely free. It's 140 lessons over 13 modules. If you are new to Ecamm, there is a quick start module at the beginning that will take you sort of 30 minutes. If you saw what I did earlier on with setting up for just recording a simple course with a few scenes, you already know how simple it is. And if you go through and watch the quick start guide at the beginning, if you're daunted by 130 lessons, watch the 13 lessons at the beginning, and you'll literally be flying around Ecamm in no time. It is, once you get a grasp of the basic operation, it's just so intuitive to use. So that would always be a good first port of call as well.
Well, dude, thank you so much. That is so valuable. So guys, make sure you take advantage of these resources. I know after showing up to a workshop like this, it can be very easy to feel really good about everything you just learned, and then allow that feeling to sort of dissipate and then not take those steps. Let's not do that this time. Let's make this time different. So one thing I want everybody to do right now in the chat before you go, just so we can all hold each other accountable, type in what is your next step. I want everybody to do that right now in the chat. Type in what is your next step. What is the thing you're going to do next? Maybe it is, actually come up with your blueprint. Or maybe it's just identify the transformation you want your consumer to have. Whatever that is, put that in the chat right now, so that way we can all take that first step and start moving forward in this process. Alec, again, thank you so much for joining me. This has been so much fun. I love doing this. Can't wait till we get a chance to do something like this again. Hopefully one day I'll make my way to you. You'll make your way here to the States. One way we can actually meet each other in person. But otherwise,
absolutely,
dude, it has been such a pleasure doing this workshop with you. Thank you so much again. You were great.
Likewise, thank you. It's been a really great experience this time around. I'm used to pressing all the buttons and watching the chat myself, so it's been a breath of fresh air. Thanks so much for all your production that you've brought to it.
Oh, dude, of course. Well, thank you so much. I'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of your day's over, so get some rest.
It's literally, it's just coming up to midnight, so it's past
so
I'm gonna turn into a pumpkin.
Yes, you get some rest, and then that way we can see you tomorrow for the Zoom call. All right.
Cool stuff. Thanks so much.
Take care. Guys, what a valuable session. What a valuable session. I feel like we learned so much today, and I can't get over the Keynote element. I'm going to be going and trying to figure out the Keynote element. I'm going to run this thing back and watch it again. It's going to be a little cringe watching myself, but I got to do it because I got to find where Alec was talking about that Keynote implementation. And then be sure to be there tomorrow for the Zoom call. Couple things before you guys run out of here. One, if you haven't registered so you can get all of the value that Alec was talking about today, be sure to register. First link in the description. Also, little selfish plug here. I will be teaching another workshop in about 2 weeks, and we have actually gone ahead and posted that as well. That is also linked in the description. If you guys don't know, I host a live stream show every single week on my personal channel where I bring in 500 plus active live stream viewers, and we're going to be talking about how I actually do that, some of the elements. And so if you guys love these Ecamm workshops, be sure to get on our calendar. We have the link in the description, thanks to Paul, but also we're also going to be having our link to our Ecamm calendar, because if you guys love workshops, we're going to be doing a lot more of these, and we are excited to bring these workshops to you guys because we understand that the best way forward is with knowledge, and we want to help you guys through that. So if there's any questions or anything you want us to cover in future workshops, don't hesitate. Let us know. We can't wait to see you guys at future events. Starting tomorrow, we're going to see you guys tomorrow in that Zoom call. So please do us a favor, sign up for the Zoom call so that way you guys can learn how he's using the Stream Deck and get your questions answered and get to know some of those little details. I know a lot of times it can be hard to ask questions about little details, but we want to make sure we answer those questions for you guys tomorrow. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to this workshop. It was an absolute blast, and we will see you guys tomorrow for the Zoom call. Y'all take care.